Hello, this is the demo for the course project I did for CS410 Text Information Systems. For this course project, I developed a Chrome extension for Google Scholar. Here, I'm going to show you how to install the extension and how to run it. First, you can go to the GitHub and download my source code from the course project folder. You can download it as a zip file. After you unzip the zip file, you can see the folder. Here I have it already unzipped. And if you go to the folder, you can see the source code here. The source code has two parts. One is client side, the other is server side. For the client side, it has a bunch of files like JavaScript, JSON, HTML. And for the server side code, what it does is it does the text retrieval using the BM25 ranking function. For now, you don't need to worry about the server-side codes because I have already put all the server-side code on an AWS server. Every time you run the Chrome extension, the client side will talk to the AWS server and get the text retrieval information from there. So for the extension, you only need the client side code for now. Next, I'm going to show you how to install the extension from the client-side code. What you need to do is go to the Chrome extensions. Firstly, you need to turn on the developer mode. Here I have already turned it on. And then you press the Load Unpacked button. Goes to the code I just showed you, the client-side code. Select it, and then you can see it's loaded here as Google Scholar Helper. Next, you can try it on a Google Scholar author page. Here, I have my own Google Scholar page open here. So on a Google Scholar author page, you can see the author information like affiliations and publications and the citations for each publication. Then we are going to load the extension. You probably want to ping it. And then if you click the extension, you can see a GUI here called Google Scholar Helper. It has a parameter called maximum depth. Before you try the extension, you probably want to refresh this page first, just to be safe. And then you click the extension and press the Go button. You can see it has been doing some things here and added some information on this page. And also it provided you a summary table here. So what this extension does is three functionalities. The first one is to give you an independent citation number. So for example, this number here, 6, is the total number of citations you have for this paper, and 4 is the independent citations you have. And this independent citation means the citation that's not cited by you or your co-authors. This information is helpful because it can give you a detailed analysis of the impact of your work. And the second functionality does is to provide you a summary of your citations and people who have cited them, like their name, their affiliation, how many times they have cited your paper, and what paper they have cited. Those information can be helpful because sometimes you may want to build some connections with other scholars who share the same research interest with you and value your work by citing them. Sometimes you probably may need a recommendation letter from people who know your work but are not a colleague of you. And then those information can be quite helpful to build a connection with them. And the third functionality this extension does is to provide you a recommended rating list for each of your publications. For example, for this publication, it recommends 10 ratings and it's ranked from 1 to 10. The ranking is based on the BM25 ranking function, as I have mentioned before. So how it works is it will use the title of the publication as the query and all the abstract of the citing papers as the documents and try to do the search and find the top 10 of the most relevant documents and show it here as your recommended rating list. And for this parameter maximum depth, it actually means how many pages of citations you go through to collect the information you need. For example, for this citation, if I click this one, it can show me I have 3 pages of citations. And if I set the maximum depth to be 3, that means it will mimic the clicking of the next button 3 times to collect all the information. Most of the times you don't want to set the maximum depth too big because that way it will does a lot of scraping and Google can think you as a robot and block your IP address. So that's why here I set it to be 3 as the default. That way it can always avoid you troubles. But if you do encounter this problem and your IP address gets blocked, you can try things like clear your browsing cookies. For this problem, I have give some detailed explanations in the documentation, and you can access my documentation from my GitHub. In my documentation, I have explained this problem about Google block your IP address and how you can deal with it. So, and also because current setting is we use the AWS server to do the text retrieval, but you can always set your own server, and it's also described here in the appendix in my documentation about setting up your own server instead of using the AWS. So that's it. I hope you enjoy using my extension.